introductions. And then Brian, I will go ahead and pass the baton to you. So I'm also going to take our link, here we are, and paste it in the comments. So if anyone's joining us live, and I'll try to mention this if I see someone popping up on the live feed, but if you go down to the comments, I have just pasted a link. So you can join this call live, which didn't used to be a thing, but it is now. And as you can see, we have a handful of guests with us today, which I'm excited to introduce you to. But I want to extend the invitation. So if anyone has questions, I am going to keep an eye out on the comments on the live feed through the Brick by Brick Facebook page. I also pasted the link there. The password is the same each week. Password is market. And then if you have any questions, feel free to chime in, unmute yourself, wave, raise your hand, all the things. And kicking us off, my name's Tanisha. I'm with Brick by Brick Real Estate. We have Sydney here and Brittany here. Not Brittany, I don't know what I'm doing. Liz and Sydney. And I even like-
I am Brittany.
Because it's on there.
No worries.
And Brian. Liz, tell us what region you're over in Utah.
Hello, Liz Moldenhauer. I am with South Utah County, Elk Ridge, Salem, a lot of Payson, Woodland Hills, into Spanish Fork some, and Springville and Santaquin.
Santaquin, do not forget Santaquin.
Don't forget Santaquin.
Never, never.
Santaquin is the place that's not very far away that feels really far away.
And Sydney, where are you joining us from?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we got you.
Okay. So I'm Sydney. I'm in Bountiful. That's South Davis. So it's North Salt Lake, Woods Cross, West Bountiful, Centerville, but mainly Bountiful.
Awesome. And then I'm kind of like right in the middle of you guys. I'm at the point in Bluffdale. There's a lot of buzz around the prison moving and what it's going to do and impact our state and all that. So I am right there in the center at the point. And then we have Brian here with Security National. He's our finance guru, our go-to for anything that lines in with a money sign. And today we're going to be talking about not forecasting. I said it like 3 times before we started.
That's all the same. We'll do some forecasting.
We'll do a lot of things. So every single month, the first Wednesday of the month at 10 a.m., we're all getting together to talk about the market. This is an open invitation, so anyone who has a link, you are welcome to come and join us. We rotate through 3 different topics. And the reason why I'm struggling so much is we merged 2 of our topics that we did last year, because this is probably embarrassing, but it took me an entire year to realize there were not 4 months in a quarter, there were only 3. So we were rotating 4 topics, and I was thinking we would get to each one quarterly, and really it was just a hot mess. So
that could be very efficient if you think about it. That could actually be very beneficial.
It was, and it was fantastic. And I did it intentionally, unintentionally last year, but this year we have 3 topics. We're rotating through them. And so last month, we did forecasting. So what do we expect for the year? What about the next 6 months, year, yada, yada. Right now we're going to go to affordability, right? So now that we know what things look like, what do things look like on affordability basis? And then Brian, what's our 3rd category?
We have affordability, then we have, what is the 3rd category? We combine. Well, there's buy versus rent.
Set up an opportunity so I could win.
Yeah.
It's rent versus own.
Rent versus own, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make Brian the host so he can share his screen. We will jump into things. Again, I'm watching the comments. If you see in the comments, go ahead and join us. The Zoom link is there, and we'll go ahead and get the show on the road.
Did it work? Did I do it?
Yeah, we did it. Look at Sydney.
There's a button. Oh yeah, we got Sydney on there.
Yes.
Liz, I don't have a picture of you.
Well, we gotta fix that.
We need to take care of that problem.
Fix that. We'll fix that. Well, we're showcasing Sydney this month.
Nice.
Yeah. So, so we talk about affordability, and there's not a lot to this. There's 2 main questions when we talk about affordability. And there's two distinct definitions. So one would be, hey, I want to buy a house, or I want to rent a house, or I want to rent an apartment, or I want to buy a car. There's a question of affordability, right? How much is this going to cost? And how much am I willing to spend on that particular item? So when it comes to housing, and we talk about affordability in terms of qualifying for a mortgage, there's two parts of it. There's the actual, what can I qualify for in the eyes of the loan guy, the lender? We have specific guidelines for that. But the second question is, what can you afford? And what can you afford is going to be a different. You can take two identical people making the same amount of income, yet they're going to have different definitions of what they think they can afford. And we talk about that a lot. And that's probably more of the conversation than just the qualifying part. The qualifying is relatively easy in most cases. And so I thought I'd take you through this and kind of tell you kind of how this works. And we'll use some graphics here if I can make this move.
That's
okay. All right. So
like I'm smart. I'm like, I'm getting.
Shouldn't it go bigger? Oh, there we go. Oh, yes. Sydney's even bigger now. Here we go. You can see our picture even better. All right. So this is one, and this is a report, and we have several. We run these customize these all the time for clients that were looking to buy a home, and we do these very early in the process. Cynthia, how early do we run these?
Like
after you found a house?
Right. No. And I feel really strongly about this, and you'll see, and as a new agent, I was actually afraid to go the pre-qualification route initially, because I'm like, no one wants to be up front. No one wants to pull their credit. This is really scary. So I would kind of like dance around it. And I know a lot of new agents do that as well. I'm going to tell you why that's a big mistake. And the reason is you will put yourself on an emotional roller coaster. You're going to fall in love with homes. You're going to go see homes that are not in your price range. You're going to spend a lot of time, effort, money, all of the things, gas in pursuing homes without a roadmap as to what's possible and what you can implement. And so Brian's awesome. I will talk to, I think almost 98% of my clients when I'm talking to Brian is like, hey, we're not pulling credit, but here's the preliminaries. Let's get a good guesstimate, right? And then that at least gives us a ballpark. And if that's where you're comfortable and you don't want to pull your credit initially, you can still get this analysis, figure out where you're at, and get a better idea. And then when you find that dream home and you're ready to pull the trigger, then yes, obviously pulling credit is going to be a part of that story, but you get to dictate when. And so if I'm working with someone and they're like, I'm buying a house, we're getting pre-qualified, we're putting in, getting our credit, all of the 9 yards, because we know that we're committed to this and we want to see exactly where we're at. And so to answer your question, everyone who wants to purchase a home, this is step one. Right. Brian makes it awesome. Brian, I'll brag about him for a minute. He is extremely funny. He's like my financial dad. I will call him and be like, okay, real estate aside, titles aside, this is what I'm looking to do. Give me feedback. The reason why I chose to work with Brian is with Brick by Brick, we are founded on relationships. We don't care if someone's ready to buy or sell right now in this moment. We want to genuinely connect with you. We want to help you build. We want to help you grow. And Brian works the same way. Just because you don't have an active mortgage with him or you're not actively under contract doesn't mean that he's not going to take your call. And so being from a place where we're all on the same page, we're all building that roadmap, it allows us to cut out that emotional roller coaster, know exactly what starting point we're at, and then plan accordingly. So
right. And
yeah,
that's a great thing. I do, by the way, along with I do have dad jokes as well, by the way. And some of them are pretty good. Yeah. Not bad. I mean, they're not good, but they're not horrible. Anyway, but yeah, you mentioned a thing about as far as the affordability on that piece of it. It's really, there's a lot of misinformation that folks have about the financing part of it, because buying a home is emotional enough, right? A lot of the decision making that we go into it when we buy our home is very emotional. It's not, there's nothing you can quantify. You know, you can say I'm this many minutes from the freeway, but what does that mean to person A, person B? It's different. Everybody's different. But what we try to do is take the emotion out of the financing part of it, because it's, when it comes to finances, payments, etc., that's just math, right? So let's just keep the emotional part in the home buying, but try to peel it out the best we can. And what I found over the many years I've been doing this is that the earlier we can get into this part of it, the much better off and more comfortable you're going to feel ultimately when you're looking for homes. Because otherwise you can look at homes all over the place, you know, And I would say probably 50-50 of clients that I talk to, people are either overlooking, they're looking for something too expensive, but I'll bet a half or more are even looking for something it's probably in the lower range, and they really could go higher and have a bigger selection of home to look at. And that's very common, because it's really hard. And using online calculators are awesome, except that it's kind of a little difficult depending on your situation. So what we can do is get it kind of nailed down, find out what the eligibility is and whatnot, and just kind of go from there. But this right here is just kind of a very simple, semi-random, person. And ultimately what we do is we come down with, and I'll start from the bottom, kind of go up. So this is this person or couple or whoever, right? The annual income of this person is $90,000, let's say. And let's say there are other obligations. That would be car loans, student loans, other debts, debt payments, child support, alimony, stuff like that. That would all be in this, what we call monthly obligations. Does not include your rent, because when you're renting, you're going to move out and the rent stops. So that does not include your current rent. So in this particular case, and this is a small down payment, a 3% down payment or so, and then a little higher than that. And then this person would qualify for a sales price of about, up here, you go up here, about $543,000 about.
So Brian, what if I'm like, wait a minute, I have groceries, I have my Netflix subscription, I have a lot of other expenses that aren't in that $400 amount, right?
Yeah.
So where are those going? Like, how does that impact this?
Yes, great. That's a great question. So in lending land, the maximum, we go off of what's called a debt to income ratio. And that simply means we take your gross monthly income, your salary, there's some commission income, whatever your income is before taxes, before the groceries, before anything like that. And we figure, okay, we'll lend you to where all your debts together don't exceed about 43, it varies a little bit, but about 43% of your income. So the groceries and all the stuff that is not counted in your debt payments, so you don't owe any money, you're just living and eating and things like that. All those things can come out of the other half of your income, or 47% of your other part of your income.
So essentially my monthly obligations is what would pull up on a credit report, right? So
most of it, yeah, most of them, yes.
Like if I have a car payment or a loan payment or something that's contract that I have to pay off, but my credit card, is that going on my monthly obligation or is that going on my debt to income?
Good question. So some people, if you're paying off your credit card every month, at some point the bank is going to report it to the credit bureaus, right? And it's going to say you have a balance of $1,836 is what your balance is. What we do is we say, okay, what is the minimum payment reported to the credit bureau? And it's usually 2% or 2.5% usually of that balance. And we'll use that as part of that $400 usually. Okay. Whether you pay it off or not, we don't really know that. And usually it doesn't matter. Sometimes we can work around that if we need to, if it's really close. But in most cases, it's going to be part of the monthly obligation. So everything's going to show on the credit report. The exception would be any other obligations, such as you're paying up back taxes or child support or something like that wouldn't necessarily show on your credit report. That all goes into that obligations, and so the monthly obligation number. So the idea is that you can live off of over 55, 50, whatever it is, or 47%, about half your income. You can live off of that, about half your income roughly, and then you'll have the rest to take care of all your other obligations.
Got it. Awesome. Thank you. That's
how we do it. So it's pretty straightforward. And then we discuss, that's just the qualifying part. Then we discuss where your affordability is. A lot of people say, you know what, I don't want to spend 40% of my income on debt. They go, great. Where's that secret number? So if you make $90,000, maybe you feel more comfortable with instead of here's your payment, by the way. This payment here in this example would be about $2,800, $2,825. Mm-hmm. And that consists of the principal and interest mortgage payment on the loan balance, plus some property taxes. And the way property taxes work is they're assessed every year. And then we, the lender, collect 1/12 of it. So every year we have enough money in what's called an escrow account to pay those taxes. Same with your homeowner's insurance. We have enough in there, so you don't have to worry about paying those big bills at the end of the year. And that's where the payment comes from. So in terms of affordability, you may say, you know what, $2,800 is a little high for me. I'm more in the 20, I really don't want to go over 2,400. Then we just work it backwards and figure out where we're at.
So
So we do
speaking of working backwards, I feel like someone's like DTI, debt to income ratios, panic. I have no
Yeah.
clue what anyone's talking about, but they're like, I'm already paying 2,500 a month. I know that I could afford up to 2,800. And I
Right.
feel like those are numbers that are really comprehensible because that number is coming out of your bank account every single month, right?
Right.
And so if someone were to come in, and I know this gets a little bit tricky because if you're renting, just because your payment is 2,500 does not mean that you will pre-qualify for that same payment amount in this, right? Because
Correct.
there needs to be other qualifications that are going to go into that debt to income. But is there an easy way to say, okay, I know my rent is X, I know my credit is good, I am looking to know what that, 4,000 or 53, oh my gosh, 543, there we go, that suggested max is. How do you reverse it back?
Yeah, what we'll do, I won't show you the gnarly guts of the spreadsheet, the way we calculate it, but we would simply just say, okay, if you want to have a payment of 2,500 in your example, maybe you're paying that much in rent.
Sure.
Then we would simply say, okay, that's going to be, we need to subtract out what taxes are going to be on and you kind of have to kind of guess a few times, but we'll figure, maybe $200 a month for taxes and then $50 for your homeowner's insurance. What payment would bring this down to maybe 2,300 or 2,250 for a mortgage payment? And then just calculate it backwards, and that moves down to, probably 500 range, something like that. Yeah, that's how we do it. And we work it backwards. And we do that. It really sounds odd, but most clients, most home buyers nowadays, it's really more of a question of affordability versus, stretching it and just what can I qualify for? What can I get away with? And that's I've seen that change over the years. It's been really nice, actually. So, but that's a much more detailed discussion than just, hey, what can I qualify for? That's easy.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Can I just
And
say,
it's-
there's been so many times that I've talked with buyers and, have you talked to a lender? Yeah, we have our number. We've talked to our lender and for whatever reason, I was new in the business or in a hurry or whatever, got excited and we jump in and we use that number and we, get quite a ways down the road and come to find out, wait a minute, I didn't realize that, this, that, or the other. So just kind of seconding the conversation that it's really important to understand exactly what we're talking about, what are our closing costs, what are, what other kinds of fees are we going to have with this process to make sure that we're really comfortable.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because there's a lot of stuff that's not really, you don't really think about that's involved. And you mentioned closing costs. There's what time of the month you close, for example, can affect how much money you need to bring into closing. There's all sorts of stuff. And we do a lot of these. And ultimately, by the way, and you know this very well, is especially nowadays, to make an offer on a home, you've got to have a full-blown pre-approval.
Sure.
And real estate agents everywhere in the country know that there are real pre-approvals and there are fake pre-approvals. And lenders will issue these pre-approvals willy-nilly. It really doesn't do anybody any good because you have problems that arise. So we do real pre-approvals, and we will verify income, do all of that. And guess how much it costs to do that? Nothing. It's beautiful. It's one of the beautiful free things in the world. But we can do that. And they last, by the way, an official real pre-approval, not a fake one. They last about 4 months. About 4 months, those would be good for. And then after the 4 months passes, we don't want to rush anybody. After the 4 months has passed, it's usually just an update. It's not a big deal to do that. So.
Definitely. And I want to go back to that zero number that you're talking about, because two things that are really important. Anyone working with us, Brian's incredible. You're going to be able to know foolproof pan that this is going to work. I can't tell you how many times, like Liz had mentioned, I've worked with a client who used an outside lender and we get to the closing table and they're not able to deliver on what those initial expectations were. So having confidence in your lender to be able to get you to that point is very important. There's a lot of different things and challenges that can come up within a transaction. Especially you'll see a lot of memes and funny things of like, don't buy a car, don't get a loan, or don't do X,
Right.
Y, and Z during this process, because that's one of those ways that it can be derailed. But if you're starting off the tracks from the start and you have a pre-qualification letter that's not like actually reflecting what your situation is, you're starting off the tracks and it's not going to go to a good place. Sometimes we have a Hail Mary, we can make it work. But for me and for most of us, statistically, purchasing a home is the largest and biggest investments we will make in our entire lifetime. And so the idea of starting that without knowing exactly where you're at, what you're capable of doing, not only that, but also where you're comfortable within it, is just a bad plan. So it will cost you zero. We do analysis all the time. And let's say we find out that we're not in a position to purchase a home. Well, guess what? We're going to roll you over into credit repair. There are services that will charge you a hefty fee to be able to figure out what your credit repair is. I have clients with Brian that have been able to get through their credit repair issues, which was estimated to be, 6 months and 3 months, half the time. And it's like down to the penny. It's like $6.37 here.
Yeah.
And we're going to pay this one off. And so it's not just like a willy-nilly. So if you're navigating and you have a future goal of, I want to purchase a house, stop doing it off the tracks, because this will cost you nothing. We will do the analysis. These numbers will be your numbers and we'll create a plan. If that ends up in purchasing a home, fantastic. If it puts us in a different direction, we're still going to stick with you and figure out what that direction looks like.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and credit, you got me going on credit repair. Just one quick statement. I could go all day. Credit repair, the paid services that offer credit repair, I won't say they're completely unnecessary, but by and large, they just do what you can do for free. The challenge with credit repair is knowing exactly what to do and when to do it, in what order. There's an order is in some cases, and we have all the tools. We run these scenario analyzers tools and say, okay, if you do this, this, and this, what will your credit score go up to, and how long will it take? And we send you a report. It's very simple. Do this, this, and this, and you'll go to this credit score, for example. And that's it. And it doesn't cost anything. It's really not. It's not hard. Not hard to do. It's just knowing what to do is the hard part, and that's free.
awesome. Sydney, I see you're back on here. Liz, do you guys have anything else? Any last plugs that you have as far as affordability or things that you feel would be helpful?
I was just wondering if we could talk a little bit about investing, as far as, how do I figure that into what's affordable? Maybe I own a home and I'm ready to do some investing and rent something out to, that type of thing. And how does that figure into my debt to
Yes.
and all
Oh
that?
man, this is the
I'm
greatest
so
day ever.
glad, right? I'm like, thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. This is like why this invitation is open, is so we can get questions like these, because I'm like, that's fantastic. I want to know, because most of us who own homes are literally sitting on probably close to 100, maybe 80 grand of equity in our homes. With the crazy market that we've just had, things are still climbing. So Brian, talk to us about, I want to hear it from the two different perspectives. One's from home ownership, if they want to leverage their home, and one from, I am jumping in. Well, I guess if you don't own a home, it's your first time, which we've just went over. So Is that right? Am I blanking? Is my statement too broad? Or is
Well,
that?
no, I mean, these numbers here can be for first-time home buyer or otherwise. Same idea.
Sure.
But I think what you're talking about, Liz, is when we have a lot of folks that own a home, like you said, and they have gained a tremendous, I would argue, almost an immoral amount of equity in their homes, right? So if you owned a home here in Utah County, Salt Lake County, wherever, for 5 years, and you've just been paying on it, I mean, you've got equity. I don't know how you don't have equity in that, unless you pulled you've done a refinance or something. But I get this question all the time for people who want to move up. They own the little town home or a small reasonable home, and they say, well, I could sell it for this, or I can keep it and rent it. So I go into that we do that a lot, and ultimately it comes down to the math and what your goals are. So and a lot of people, in many cases, if you want to hold on to your home, and it's what's called a conversion. So you're going to convert it from a primary residence to a rental, to an investment property. And you can totally do that, no problem. Question is, does it make sense to keep it? And we look at the tax implications. There's a big tax implication in particular with keeping your home and converting it to a rental. We look at the amount of cash that's tied up. You know, we look at A and B. If you sold it, you kept it, what happens, right? So we look at all those kind of numbers, and sometimes it makes sense. It's telling me to do something. Am I on still?
That was my fault. I shut your face off. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I said, I saw this box disappear and I'm like, what idiot's gone? Oh, it's me.
I was trying to take off your screen share and I just turned your face off.
Look, I can take a hint, guys. Listen, I can. But anyway, but looking at keeping a home versus as a rental versus selling it, and there's a whole bunch of math there, and we do that all the time. And it depends. It really depends. You know, sometimes you're better off keeping it. Sometimes I beg you to sell it. It just doesn't make any sense to hold on to it. Sometimes you're better off selling, buying your new home, your new primary residence, and then using the extra money to buy a rental property. And
Yeah, what if I want to keep my house, stay in my house, and just invest? You know, I just want a rental
Oh
property.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm looking at, do I finish my basement and rent it out? Do I get another rental property? You know, and like you say, it's all about the math. It's all about what makes sense. I mean, you know, how much money are you gonna have to put into your basement to make that happen? What kind of rent are you gonna be able to get? Versus if you get something else, what kind of rent are you gonna be? I guess my big question is, would the projected rent go into the math or not so much?
Oh, for sure. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And I'm watching. I invest in real estate. I've been doing it for years and years, and I'm watching rents. We've all seen them just go up. And I think what you see when you see homes appreciate, they go up in value, kind of almost steady. I mean, it's kind of very steep, of course, lately. But rents kind of tend to do this. They stay flat and they go up, and then they skip. And I think that's because they're year contracts. You know,
Yeah,
you
they
have a
have
1 year
to,
lease.
'cause, yeah.
You know, and they're really cranking. I mean, we talked last month, was it, about the rent in our forecasting?
Yeah.
And well, Salt Lake County was up, what was it, some stupid number in rent, like 28% or something?
61% in some
Yeah.
areas.
Oh, that's
My
right.
area average was 30%, but everywhere.
And
No.
rents, if you look at the rents, and from a landlord, from a property owner point of view, the higher the value of the home, of the property, rents have to go up. They just have to. They have to follow the values, and it lags. But I think you're going to see big rent increases this year again. I mean, you have to.
Great time to invest. And that just brings us right into our next topic next month, rent versus
Yeah.
own, right?
Yep.
And on that note, so I have a personal friend who lives up the street from me. They're renting the top floor. So Liz had mentioned I'm like pointing to your box over there. Does that work? Oh, it does.
That's
Like,
where I am in my picture. I don't know about anybody
She's
else.
only there, yeah, right.
What's that? Is it family? There's a story.
Oh, the Brady's.
The Brady
Yes.
Bunch, yes.
Brady Bunch.
Nisi, I'm surprised you know that. You're not old enough for that.
I don't know all the words apparently. I know the tune and the pointing, right?
You
You're not
think
missing
about
much,
it, that
yeah.
was almost predicting the future on these boxes on a Zoom meeting.
Yes. Okay, high
Wow.
five, Liz. Can we do
Wow.
that? High five. Look at us. Okay, anyways. What was I even saying? Okay, so my friend up the street, finishing your basement, right? So they just got a notice from their landlord that rent is going up $600 a month in the next 45 days to account for everything that's changed. And that is only for the top floor of their house. So the bottom floor has a separate entrance, separate tenants. And I don't know them personally if there's a rent increase there as well, but their rent is significantly over what my mortgage is for the entire house. So
It's
as
going
far
up
as
600 a month?
up 600 a month.
That's a normal rent for in my head.
So up 600 from where it was before, right?
Yeah.
And so as far as, do I finish my basement? Do I do an accessory apartment? Do I buy an investment property? Do I do rental? All of those different things that Liz was saying, we will run the numbers for you. We will look at not only the numbers in general for the state, but we just mentioned like in Salt Lake, there was a place at 61%. In my local market, it's 30. Where Liz's, it was a little bit lower at like 25 or 28, right? So based off of your affordability, where you can afford, where you want to live, where you want that rental to be, is going to dictate the rents in that area. So we're not only going to paint the picture, we're going to paint your picture. We're going to look at rentals in the area that you want that rental to be. We're going to look at the rates. We're going to see, does it make sense? We'll run all the numbers. Now we're going to take it back and say, okay, what if we pull out that money instead of investing it in a separate property, we put it in our basement? Do I get any real estate commissions if you pull a mortgage on your house and finish your basement? Absolutely not. Do I care? Absolutely not. Am I still going to have a conversation with you? Absolutely, right? Because we are building relationships. We want you to be successful, because what's going to end up happening is you finishing your basement, if we run all the numbers and that makes sense, right? You're going to want to continue to grow. We're looking at your financial portfolio from a bird's eye view. So whatever makes the most sense, we'll do. For me personally, 2 years ago, I had two lot reservations for new construction townhomes. We were going to build 2 for investment properties. Because our financial situation, there was a heavy weight on interest rates. And with new construction, you can't lock that in for 9 months or so, or when it was finished. That risk was too high for me personally to feel comfortable pursuing. Looking back, I would think, holy crap, different life if I would have pursued that,
Hindsight's
right?
great, isn't it? Yeah.
But my stress level and everything else would have been through the roof, right? I wouldn't have been able to finish my basement. I wouldn't have been able to do an accessory apartment garage. And so now instead I took that same amount and I built a 2-car garage. I put an accessory apartment on top, and now I'm renting that independently, right? And so both options provided positive results. As far as your personal evaluation of risk and what you feel comfortable with and where your comfort zone is also going to play a big role in what direction. Brian at the very beginning said, you can take 2 people with the same exact income, same situation, and their affordability will be very different. And the same is with all of these plans. We will run the numbers, but you're in the driver's seat. You get to dictate, okay, this is what I feel comfortable with. This is what I want to pursue. And we're here to provide the information for you.
It's all about tolerance.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm so glad that you guys have joined. Also, for those of you who don't know, we store all of our market analysis on YouTube. So I will go ahead and upload this video there. We will see you guys next month. So it will be March 2nd, I believe. It's still the 2nd. It's February. It's every Wednesday. Oh my gosh, someone help me.
First Wednesday of the month, right?
Yes, first Wednesday of the month, 10 a.m. Zoom. Join us live. We would love to hear your questions. If you're a little camera shy, you can put up a picture. You don't have to show your face. That's fine. If you're shy completely, come to the notes, or not notes, the comments. I'll be watching those, and I'm happy to ask your questions and implement them here. And if you want us to just use you as a guinea pig and say, hey, use my numbers, we'll do it live, and we'll do it here, and we'll be able to have just like an open conversation like we would one-on-one, and share your social. I'm kidding. We'll do it in a way that keeps all of your sensitive information private, but we're happy to help, and we're not going anywhere. So thanks for joining us today.
All right. See you guys.
Hey, thanks. We'll see ya.
Thanks, Brian.
See ya.